I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on the Spotlight Network, we're journeying back to the 1960s with a wonderful book, a nostalgic book. It is called The House Near Bishop Ridge. It's written by a terrific author. His name is Peter Hutchison. Inspired by his own boyhood adventures, Peter takes us through a thrilling mystery set against the charm and intrigue of a Scottish village, with real-life characters and vivid settings, a blend of fact and fiction. This book is a nostalgic yet suspenseful tale that brings the past to life. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Prime 7 Media for helping us put him in the spotlight today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Peter, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Nice to be with you.
This is such a great story. It's basically a memoir of your childhood that's a little fictionalized. Tell us a little bit about the inspiration.
Yeah, well, it goes back to my youth as a teenager. And back then, I had a great imagination for storytelling. And even until I got married and had children, I'd be telling them wonderful stories. And I've kept going with this since years. And my wife and children told me you should get it down in writing on paper, get it out there so the world can see it. And this has really been truly inspired by my family to get this done. And with the help of Josh Williams, he's been very helpful as well. I will say that.
Well, we're glad you got these stories down on paper because they really are intriguing and interesting. Give us an overview of the book. What will the readers find when they open up the pages?
Well, what they will find is an intriguing journey into the past, 18th century, back to 1832, where a crime takes place and it cannot be proven, but through the journey, there's a lot of mystery behind it. So I don't want to say too much about it because I want you to read it for yourself. And each page is another journey for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. What was it like going back and revisiting your childhood and writing down some of these stories?
Well, it felt very sad in one way, but in another way, it gave me a joy of, success. And, I just had to get it down on paper, out there for the readers out there to enjoy. But it brought us a few emotions along the way of people I once knew. And, it is sad in a way, but what can you do? That's life.
I think the setting of the story is so wonderful, the Scottish Highlands. It must have been a fantastic place to grow up. Tell us a little bit about growing up in the Scottish Highlands.
Well, we moved there in the 60s. We moved from the city of Aberdeen and to this sort of desolate place. And it was just beautiful. We loved it. It was just fantastic. A perfect place for a child to grow up in. And I guess I built half my stories up from that place.
And, wonderful. Is this the first book you've written?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about writing it. What was it like?
What was it like? Well, I seemed to just flow through it, like flowing through it, as if I knew everything was there for me. And I had no problem getting through it, which was one relief, in fact.
Amazing, amazing. How long did it take you to write it?
It took me quite a long time. But I was taking breaks in between, and sometimes I've just give up on it altogether, just because I didn't have time. I had work then. I was working then as well.
Mhm.
I was a welder, and then of course, it didn't give me a lot of time a day, and I just says, no, I'll leave it. So I cast it aside for a while, but in later years I came back to it. I'm
Mm.
glad I did.
Yeah, I'm very glad you did as well. Do the people of your village know that you wrote a book about these real places and these real people?
Not as yet, not as yet,
Okay. Well, they'll
but I'm
know it
sure.
when they see it in the bookstore, right?
Well, I'm sure they will.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. What's your greatest memory of growing up? Did you live near a place called Bishop Bridge? Was that a real place?
Yes, it is a real place. In fact, it was called the Devil's Bridge
Mm,
because of an accident that happened many years ago. And what happened was someone got killed there, and their skull had been placed in the bridge.
mm,
And even when they built the new bridge there, they took the old skull out and placed it in the new bridge
mm.
as a memory of. But as I say, that's in our story in the books.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. Devil's Bridge, when you're a kid, you hear something like that, you really get filled with a good kind of fright, a good kind of
Yeah, of course,
imagination, right?
of course.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it was
Have
an,
you envisioned this story perhaps as a movie or anything?
I would love to see it out there,
Yeah.
but as I say, I take one step at a time
Yeah.
and
Well,
see.
you've written the book, and that's a great first step because you put the work out there. You never know if somebody wants to turn it into a screenplay or a film. I think it would be terrific. Are you thinking about doing any more writing?
Yes, of course, in the village I now stay in, I have a lot of ideas for stories in this village, but I was probably thinking of a sequel to the one I've done.
Hmm. That'd be wonderful. And in the sequel, where would you pick up the story? What do you think that would center on?
I'll pick it up from a 20-year-old man
Hmm. Yeah.
and onwards from there.
Yeah. What made you decide that you're going to have the book revolve around a crime set in the 1800s?
Well, in fact, I based it on the 1800s because of old diaries that was found in a basement
Hmm.
of this house. Now, this is my fictional part, and this dates back to the 1832.
Hmm.
And of course, I built the story from there, and it just seemed to fall together just good.
Yeah. And of course, the story is also set in the 1960s, which I think is a wonderful era, much more interesting era than this era. I think people used to
Well,
play better, right? Don't you think?
yeah. Well, it's like understanding the past, but yet the future takes control. You know.
Exactly, exactly. What was your favorite part of growing up in the 1960s?
Well, it certainly wasn't school,
Same here.
but yeah. Well, we had to do these things, whatever, and that was it.
Seems like there was a lot of freedom in the 1960s. I remember riding my bike for miles and miles, and my mother wasn't worried about where I was, and I wasn't tied to a cell phone all the time.
No,
It
no,
was,
no, 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 no. It was totally different back then.
yeah,
You would you would have your
yeah,
freedom, and
exactly.
you could go anywhere and you know not worry. But
Yeah.
nowadays, you just don't know where you're going.
I think the worries are kind of exaggerated. I think it's just as safe today as it was in the past. I think people are just too hyper about, keeping people quote unquote safe. People need room to dream. People need room to explore. People need room to grow. And I think we had that in the 60s and we were blessed to have that. And it continued into the 70s and 80s. And the digital age has kind of put a leash around us, I feel.
It has, yes. It
Yeah.
sort of tied us to
Yeah.
tied us to the computer.
Exactly, exactly. Soon we'll just put a chip in our head instead of walking around with a phone or going home to the computer, uh,
Yeah.
without a doubt. Has your family read your book at all? Have you shared it with any loved ones?
My wife has read part of it, but I had not finished it by that time. And
Okay.
she was so engrossed in it, kept asking me, when are you going to finish this so I can get real into it? She says, I'm very interested in the way it's going just now, she says, and I'm desperate to see what happens here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, that's a great review that she was desperate to see what happened. And it is a wonderful book. It's a wonderful tale. And I love the blend of fact and fiction, elements of real life and elements of your imagination woven with the words in the pages of this book. The name of the book is The House Near Bishop Bridge. It is an inspiring tale, inspired by the author's own boyhood adventures. Peter
Of
takes
course.
us through a thrilling mystery set against the charm and intrigue of a Scottish village. Before we leave you today, Peter, anything you'd like to add? Anything you'd like the folks at home to take away when they read the book?
Well, I'll give a part of my world to your world.
Well, that's very nice. That's a great thought. That's a nice thought. And it was fun reading your book. It was fun being immersed in your world from the 1960s and the imagined world from the 1800s as well. Thanks so much for joining me here today, Peter.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time, this time, until next time on Spotlight.
Anyway.